Shalom and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is a recording of Parenting Through the Parsha with Rabbi Matt Shapiro.
It has been a whirlwind couple of weeks for our family. Just a couple of days ago, we got back from a trip that we took over Thanksgiving and a little bit past, where to celebrate our oldest bar mitzvah, which happened a couple of months ago, we took a trip. Jonah had said that in lieu of a party, he would prefer to go on a big trip. He is a soccer fan, or after having been on this trip, I have now learned to say football. He's a huge football fan, and so we went on this trip to England. We did a couple of football-related things in London, where we were much of the week, and the main event of the trip was heading up to Liverpool to go see his favorite team, Liverpool Football Club, play a game. We knew we were going to have to go over this week because of how the school schedule fell out, and it just so happened that the weekend that we were there during their season was against one of their main competitors and rivals, and it just worked out that it was a Sunday game that we were able to go to. I was able to scrounge up some tickets to get us into the stadium to watch this game. And it was an incredible experience. Traveling with school-age kids is no easy task. The trip had its rough moments. And overall, it was a really lovely trip, and it was a beautiful experience. And I'm so grateful that we got to go and that we got to do this for Jonah, to celebrate him and the simcha for our family. There were a lot of memorable moments. One of which was when we got into the stadium on Sunday, we make our way up to our seats. We get to where we're going to sit for the game. Jonah sees the field of his favorite football team for the very first time, and he started crying. And it was this incredibly sweet moment where he was so happy and he was so overwhelmed that he couldn't help but to cry. And it was just so sweet. It was such a beautiful moment. And I'm grateful I got to share it with him. In the Parsha this week in VaYeitzei, there's a number of big moments in Yaakov, our patriarch, and Jacob's life that unfold. We have the scene with the ladder to heaven, the scene where he meets Rachel for the first time, and then the drama with Leah and Rachel. A lot happens in this Parsha. But I'll hone in on the moment where Jacob sees Rachel for the very first time by the well. And we're told in very simple language that after moving this stone out of the way in this Herculean effort, we're told just in very simple language that Jacob kissed Rachel and that Jacob broke into tears. Vayef, he cries. And there's a lot of comments, of course, about what these tears could possibly mean. Rashi says that it's because he could foresee that she wasn't going to be buried with him. Sforno says that it's because he wasn't able to marry her earlier. That a lot of it has a sense to do that tears must be from sadness. Only Radak, a traditional commentator, says that he wept for joy. But interestingly, Radak says it's because when close relatives meet after they haven't seen each other for a while, they're so grateful that they start crying. And for those who aren't familiar with the exact genealogy of some of the earlier stories of our patriarchs and matriarchs, there are some family connections there. So I don't see it necessarily that way, but Radak is the closest to my understanding of this verse. Maybe Jacob just cries because he's really happy. He sees this person who he falls in love with, and he's experiencing joy, and he's overwhelmed, and he kisses her, and he cries. Because sometimes when we're happy, we cry. Because sometimes when we're experiencing a moment of excitement and fulfillment and joy, one of the ways that we react as people is that tears come forth. And that's a beautiful thing. it's interesting as well that there's a thread here from what I can tell in terms of masculinity and tears, that between Jacob and Esau is seen as the less conventionally masculine of the two. Esau is the hunter. Esau is the hairy one. Esau is the one who goes out and brings game back to his father. And Jacob, in dressing up as Esau, is playing at this role. And tears are often seen as less manly for whatever sociological reasons that we can trace back. And I'm a crier. If people know me well, they know that I'm a crier. Part of how I am in the world, part of how I'm wired. And I think part of being an adult and part of being secure as a human is being okay with who we are. And if that's a part of who I am, I can let that emotion come forth and to come forth in that way. And I also hold no judgment. If someone is secure in their masculinity and they're not a crier, I'm not saying that they have to be in order to demonstrate their security. I don't think it's binary in that way. But I love the fact that in my sense of this scene in the Torah, maybe it's just possible this is Jacob being Jacob, and in a moment of excitement and joy, he's crying because maybe he's a crier. I love that I got to share this moment with Jonah at the stadium where he was just so joyful and excited that this was part of his reaction. And we had a fabulous time together with cheering and with laughter and with celebration. They won the game. Thank the Lord that they won this game. It would have been a great experience no matter what, and it was that much better because they won. So there were a lot of great moments and a lot of moments of celebrating who Jonah is as a human now and in anticipating who he will continue to be in the world. But one of those moments is getting to appreciate how he was able to be present enough for this emotion to well forth and emerge in this way. Grateful I got to share that with him. And my hope for him is that he can know more often than not when he experiences tears in this world that they're tears of joy and fulfillment rather than other types of tears, that I can share those moments of joy and fulfillment with him. And that when the tears come for whatever reason in his life and in our lives, that we're able to really be present with each other, to ask questions about, well, why might it be that I'm crying? Why might it be that we're crying? And to remain open to whatever the reason might be, and to be able to really share that together.
You have been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast site or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Temple Beth Am Los Angeles, go to tbala.org.